evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news untold stories. I am Oyin Okpala. Let's begin. Across Ambazonia, a land rich in resilience but one thin by neglect. The cries of a people long abandoned by the structures meant to serve them are growing louder and more desperate. From the coastal plains of Limbe Quarters in the Boya municipality to the fertile savannas of Ngute, Bui, and Dunga Manchun, the people are enduring a mounting humanitarian crisis marked by powerlessness, both literal and political. On August 6, 2025, residents of Limbe Quarter took to the streets in a rare but resolute show of peaceful resistance. Their demand was simple: an end to a crippling power outage that has left homes in darkness for over 2 months. Families have been forced to live without light, refrigeration, or even the most basic means of communication. Yet, as darkness consumes their night, electricity bill continue to arrive, unrelenting and unexplained. Are we being built for darkness? One protester even asked, capturing the bitter irony of a system that charges citizens for services it refuses to provide. Their march to the Colonial Divisional Office was met not with empathy or intervention, but with indifference instead of answers. They were redirected to the NU head office, a move seen by many as yet another tactic of deflection from those in power. Further north, in the agricultural rich but deeply troubled areas of Ngute, Bui, and Dongan Manchun, the crisis takes on an even more tragic face. Here, thousands of farmers already stretched thin by years of insecurity are watching helplessly as their livelihoods decay in the fields. Tomatoes, plantains, beans, and other perishables lie rotting in the sun, not due to natural disaster, but as a direct consequence of colonial military enforced lockdowns. These lockdowns imposed under the guise of security operations in a war and local population did not start and does not benefit from have paralyzed transportation routes and shut down local markets. Farmers who once fed entire towns are now starving behind and beside the crops they cannot sell. The result is cruel paradox, a famine not born of scarcity, but of deliberate obstruction. Food is plentiful, but it cannot reach the hungry. Goods are ready, but they cannot reach the market. Children are growing without meals in areas where granaries are full. This is not merely economic collapse. It is the slow, intentional erosion of human dignity. Together, these events lay bare the ongoing suffering of the Ambazonian people, caught between a colonial administration that has failed in its most basic duties and a military agenda that treats citizens and civilians as collateral damage. The blackout in Limbe and the food crisis in the zones are not isolated incidents. They are symptoms of a broader system of oppression, neglect, and calculated silences as the rest of the world looks away. Ambazonians continue to resist in the only ways they can, by marching, by speaking out, and by holding on to the hope that justice, however delayed, will not be denied forever. All these we'll discuss on tonight's Undaunted with barrister Team Mbeseha, but first let's get the prime headlines. Here are the prime headlines for tonight. La Republic de Cameroun weaponizes war, plunges Atlantic zone into strategic darkness. Also tonight, La Republic de Cameroun war strategy creates famine threats in Ambazonia. Bamenda waits in vain for Intra-Urban market road, a promise made by the Colonial La Republic de Cameroun Prime Minister Chief Dion Ngute on the 4th of July 2025. Camto bows out, Ambazonia stands firm, a reckoning for false hope and a call for true liberation. Also tonight, student journalist Gabrielle Souga, abducted and detained on Monday, finally released. Ghana launches investigation into military helicopter crash that killed top government officials on the African scene. And on the foreign scene, Modi stands firm on farmers' welfare as U.S. imposes steep tariffs on Indian goods. Now let's get the news in full briefings. For several months now, a deliberate power crisis is gripping the town of Buea in the Atlantic zone. A lawyer has described the electricity shortage as deplorable, with some communities living in total darkness for over 10 months. While the blame is being pushed to the ongoing war ravaging Ambazonia, La Republic de Cameroun is failing to hold ENIO, its partner in charge of power supply, accountable for its repeated failures and inability to repair faulty transformers. For close to a year, some communities in Buea have been left in total darkness. The crisis is a direct result of faulty transformers that ENIO has failed to repair or replace. A situation it claims has been exacerbated by the war. The company ENIO claims that the war has cost them significant financial losses and led to the destruction and vandalism of power equipment, maintaining that this, coupled with a massive influx of displaced persons into Buea, has overwhelmed an already fragile network. The consequences for daily life are severe and far-reaching. Businesses are forced to shut down or incur high costs from using generators, pushing them closer to collapse. Small businesses that rely on refrigeration are seeing their stock spoil. Students are unable to study and vital communication is disrupted. The absence of power has created a heightened sense of insecurity with a rising fear of crime in the darkness, especially with the presence of Colonial La Republic de Cameroun military thugs. Health services are also at risk. With critical medical equipment rendered useless, the public is left exposed to both the direct violence of the war and the cascading effects of a grumbling and crumbling infrastructure, which in no way seems to move the colonial government. While ENIO offers list of problems instead of solutions, critics are questioning the neighboring country's development inspiration. They are pointing to the fact that the situation in Buea makes a mockery of their so-called emergent 2035 goals, as the population cannot even enjoy a basic, stable electricity supply. Bryson Mbeseha, welcome to tonight's Undaunted.
Thank you for having me once more.
You're welcome. It's worrisome to find out that a people has stayed in darkness for 10 years. For 10 months, I beg your pardon, for 10 months. 10 months without power. I'm trying to imagine. I can only but imagine how they've been able to stay both in the hot weather, how they are able to manage their food, how they are able to, I mean, what can you do without power? And then we are hearing the excuses from Enio. Oh, so many persons are coming into Boya, and that's the reason why there is. I'm just imagining. So it takes them 10 months to figure out how to give power to a people that pays tax. Really, I'm still imagining. I'm still trying to imagine. Neighboring La Republic to Cameroun seems to be quiet in all of this. But 10 months of people who pay tax are left in darkness. How sad, or what else is remaining for Ambazonians to feel in this marriage that is forced on them? I don't know if you would have the answer for me, Barrister. That's how I'm welcoming you to tonight's Undaunted, by the way.
Well, you're welcoming on this program on a very pathetic topic. Pathetic because it looks like most Ambazonians, or at least many, don't understand the program. You see, when we sing the song, worldwide, people have the right to live. They are bound to be alive. That is good to sing the choir like that. But what does it really mean? Can you really live as a human being without the basics? Which basics include water? Which basics include light? Which basics include basic medical attention? There's no life without those things. So if those are not there, you're not born to live, you're born to die. Because a child from birth, from the mother's womb, will need to be resurrected today in the modern world by use of electricity, which is light. We need to be cleaned out of the womb by use of water, which will make the child live. If all these things are absent, what do we say? We say human dignity has been transformed into human. We're deprived of what is supposed to be human. But is it by error or by design is the question we have to ask. I will probably end and conclude and emphasize that what we're going through, be it in Boya or in Bamenda or anywhere else in Ambazonia, is well designed. There's nothing by mistake there. That's been designed for the past 60 years. And they will excuse themselves by the name war. But remember again, war started in 2016. That's 9 years ago. That was when the guns started going off, being fired. But before then, there had been the war going on. It was a Cold War, silencing people, killing them in silence, and now they excuse themselves with war. Let us go to electricity. Call it a new. What happened in Boya and is happening anywhere else is wonderfully terrible, inexcusable. The people in Boya don't have lights, sure. Just like the people in Bamenda, the people in Kumba, there are no lights anywhere. But what do the people do? Because they don't have lights, they go out to protest. I've said before. They are protesting against you. There's a place you call Enyo, which is supposed to supply the electricity. They don't go to Enyo. And they go to a certain colonial master who arrest them and lock them, called the Dion, a product of Enyo. Silence you for asking for the basic things that are yours. Yes, maybe you decide to keep quiet. But if Enyo will not supply you electricity, why will Enyo send you bills to pay? You pay bills for electricity you have not consumed. What is that? That's outright theft. That's armed banditry. Armed banditry. You pay for what you did not consume. And if you don't pay and go out to do something, somebody will arrest you and lock you up. But again, it is strange and very, very bizarre. What is the excuse from so-called immune. One of the excuses is that why the population, because of the war, has overtaken the town. As a matter of principle and policy, the larger the population, the larger the consumers of the electricity. It's not a free gift. If more people flock into a town, A or B, Boya or Bamenda or Nkambe, if the Bamenda swears from, if Nkambe swears from 300,000 to 1 million, they'll have more consumers, they will consume the thing, and they will pay more money. So is that an excuse that the more population stop electricity from coming? Certainly not. That's fraudulent excuses. But above all, the most strange thing they tell you, one of the things they tell you that the transformers blow up. Wonderful thing. Does a large population blow up transformers? Can you and me, residents of Bamenda or Kumba or Boya, just because we're so many in town, blow up the transformer? A transformer is ordered by the people to serve the population. If they order a bad one, it will blow up. If they order an undersized one and install there, it will blow up because they can no longer carry the capacity of energy that they can. The population does not blow off transformers. The population does not pull down electric poles. The population does not cut off electric cables. And so this is silence, public, and in fact, criminal prosecuting of the people. And the fact that they link it to war, is telling that during time of war, everything is possible. Everything is possible. And the stronger party. And we have seen this. At the beginning of the war, they were to cut off internet, which is wrong electricity. They cut it off to silence you. So nobody will know what is going on. They've been cutting off lights, they've cut water, they've filled the town with death. So that if the bullets don't kill you, death will kill you. If they don't kill you, bad roads will kill you. For the Republic of Cameroun, everything is possible during war. And this is what they are doing silently. And again, as a tool of war, they have gone down and massacred children. They have put Mami Api in fire. They have taken Wazizi in the name of war. They have got Ngabu and killed children and pregnant women in the name of war. What is impossible, Cameroon? No. And so they think they were forgotten all these events, and today it is electricity. The next day it will be water. There's no water in Bamenda because of war. Water is coming out dirty from the taps if there's no tap because of war. For the Republic, war is, everything is possible, everything is doable during war. And so those are fake excuses, those are criminal excuses. At the very least, these people should be held accountable for stealing from the people. If they are not consuming electricity, why give them bills? If you are not picking debt from the cartier, why let them pay for garbage collection? If they are not fixing the roads on which you are driving, why collect money from them and call it taxes that are used in the construction of roads? Why? Why? God is war. Why? Why? Because in Cameroon, everything is possible during war. Every weapon is available, including the taking away of life of innocent children, innocent women, pregnant ladies, babies in prison. Everything is war. War has no limits. And so that is where we find ourselves. Can we get out of this? I think we would. Because at least we now understand what is going on. For doubting Thomases, they will listen to us. They will open their own eyes and see what we say. Whether what we say is wrong. Whether what we say is an imagination or a fact. Once they conclude that what we say is not imagination. Once they conclude what we say is a fact, they go to see without consuming electricity. Then they would have realized that they have been going the wrong path. The only way to get out of it is to fight it out. Because you can oppress some people sometimes. You cannot oppress everybody every time. Over to you.
Thank you, Barrister Mbeseha. But that's not the only strategy that they are bringing to the fore. There is another one that has been recorded in the savannah zone of Ngute, the Bui and Dogon Manchun. We tag these as a humanitarian disaster, and it is unfolding. Local farmers are suffering from the consequences of the colonial government's failed military strategy over a war they have no business with. Their crops, like tomatoes, are left to rot in the fields as a result of non-circulation of vehicles due to colonial military enforced lockdown. These has crippled the local economy and is creating a man-made famine where food is plentiful but cannot get to the markets. Few weeks ago, movement restrictions have paralyzed these areas, choking the supply chain and preventing farmers from getting their produce to market. This economic devastation is an outcome of the colonial government's calculated actions. La Republic de Cameroun security forces have been documented imposing frequent roadblocks and illegal military checkpoints, where, like farmers, civilians trying to make ends meet are continuously being exploited. This is a deliberate mechanism overseen by the colonial authorities to cripple local commerce in Ambazonia. Biya and his gang have failed to protect the very Ambazonians they claim are their citizens, and their continuous refusal to engage in a formal political solution have also enabled their thugs to enforce such crippling lockdowns without impunity. The result is the slow strangulation of the zone's agricultural sector, as once thriving farms are now sources of waste and despair. The decision of the SDO for neighboring La Republic de Cameroon's now division to establish a roadblock serves as a final insult, further punishing a population already on its knees by denying them the very roads they need to survive. Barrister, remember the last time we were here together on Monday, we did give a report about the roadblocks. Here is a consequence of that. People can't access their farms, and so far they've been challenged with the farm produce spoiling before they can actually get to the farms, and so many other challenges as stipulated in the report. And then one would wonder, there was a time they were trying to fight the Monday Ghost Town, which is just one day that the Ambazonians have even come to appreciate and embrace and, put their schedule to fall in line with it. But in their own case, they do worse, close down roads, and then farmers are not able to get to their farmlands, to get to areas like even the markets where the roads are leading to. And here we have it. For about a week now, this has been going on. And one will wonder, how else will the people survive? No roads. The few roads that farmers are trying to make do with are being blocked. Barrister.
Well, I think we have said a lot about what is going on there. I'll still continue from where I just stopped. You see, well, at the Republic, there's no boundary. There's no limit to what they can do. What they call roadblock, they have said it before. It's not really a roadblock because there's no road there. And I said it yesterday or 2 days ago, that there's something which nobody lacks in Cameroon, which is common to everybody, readily available for no pay. What is that? Control. You can find controls every second, which I call them in my own description as extortion points. They extort from you there to get you suffer. And if you don't do it, if you don't pay, or if you don't have the money even to pay, let me give an example. They are blocking crops and going to the market. What else are they catching people for? They are catching you for not having an identity card, which identity card is impossible even to have. And then they will catch you, ask you to pay. If you don't pay, they take the custody under some orders from a guy they call the Dion. If you don't pay after some time, that Dion will transfer you to his next of command, another man. And if you don't pay, you end up in Yaoundé and be taken to Nkombengi under the directives of the so-called Dions, each one claiming the authority of the state in his own jurisdiction. All of them have presidential decree or appointing them over what they call territorial administration. They are the chef d'etat, and they can do or undo whatever they want. They can take away life, and they do take away life without accountability. If they move you from Kutunja to Bamenda and to Yaoundé, you will probably die of starvation because they will not even feed you. Unless you have a cousin and uncle or brother who can give you food there. Those to them are all weapons of war. For them, everything is fair game. And so the greatest misfortune we ever had for the past 63 years is having people, some people they call Dios, pass through our territory, pass through our minds as administrators. These khaki-wearing thugs were absolutely nothing but thieves themselves. They bribe to get the posts because they know how lucrative it is in financial terms. They know how powerful it is in terms of power that you get to control our people. And so they are doing all that, blocking poor women in Kutunja or wherever from selling potatoes, from selling tomatoes, whatever thing can give them food. And if you have to sell it, you pay to them. No receipt is given to you for all that. Or you don't sell. Those people are lucky even to have been able to grow the tomatoes or whatever thing they're selling there. In the same Northwest there, be in Campbell, be in Boyo somewhere, they have to use another strategy. What do? They encourage your neighbors to let loose their cows, to come down and eat all your crops in the name of farmer grazier problem. So they can starve, so you can have nothing to eat, so you can have nothing to sell. And what's the excuse? What would they tell you? Investigations are ongoing. So this is multifaceted. The degradation of human beings is multifaceted when, as far as Cameroun is concerned, and as far as Ambazonia in particular is concerned. So we don't know where to cry. We don't know where to start crying. Are we going to start from Cambe? Are we going to start from Dop? Are we going to start from Mount Fay? Or we're going to start from Victoria? Everywhere there's weeping. Everywhere God is flowing down the streets. Where are we going to start? Are we going to start with the children, babies locked up in prison in the name of war? Are we going to start with the women caught and jailed when they are pregnant? Are we going to start with Moja? Where are we going to start? With the priests being swept away by rivers in the pretext of war. Oh, didn't we the priest because Ambazonians were fighting against us? So there are so many arms that they use. In Somalia, as I've said, human dignity from Victoria to Nkambe, from Mbeseha to Kutunja, has become a weapon of war. And so we have to fight and liberate ourselves. Those who survive this ordeal, and the children that we born after will tell the story. But we must fight so that we don't leave the fight for them to come and help us. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. That's not even all. Still talking about roads, a promise made by the La Republic to Cameroon Prime Minister Dr. Joseph Dion Ngute on the 4th of July to undertake intra-urban road works in Bamenda is yet to materialize. This promise comes on the heels of an earlier unfulfilled commitment to construct a municipal stadium in Bamenda, a promise that was made in 2021 but never realized. The repeated failure to follow through on processes has sparked concerns about the colonial government's commitment to its word and its ability to deliver on its initiatives. As the days turn into weeks and the weeks into months, the people of Bamenda are left wondering when the colonial government will fulfill its commitment to improving the city's infrastructure. The lack of progress on both the stadium and the roadworks has caused disappointment and a frustration amongst the local population. The colonial government's inability to keep its promises has raised questions about its priorities and accountability. When will the colonial government follow through on its promises? And what will it take for the people of Bamenda to see tangible results? $1 million question. Ambazonians must unite to force La Republic to Cameroon to go on its knees in Ambazonia. for any meaningful development to take place. This is what Ambazonians think. Barrister Mbeseha. When it comes to promises and unfulfilled promises, do you even think that Ambazonians should even care? Because, I mean, none of the promises has been fulfilled, from ring roads and all of their inaugurations and all of those projections for roads. None. Do you even think that they should bother? Do you think that they should keep counting all of these unfulfilled promises just so that they know that they've not been treating Ambazonians well and the reason why Ambazonians would have to go? Or do you think that they should just let it go? Because, I mean, if we keep counting, we would keep counting and keep counting until Ambazonians leave La Republic to Cameroun for good. What would be your suggestion at this point?
Well, there's actually no answer to that question, because when you talk about promises by who and from who? Who is going to be held accountable? Who do you want to hold accountable? Whoever makes the promise in Cameroon? You start with the Prime Minister. Can that Prime Minister promise you anything? For the past several years that has been there, who can say the Prime Minister can promise something that they will deliver? His promises are just a jargon. So I don't think anything called Prime Minister is worth any promise. But again, I've asked, promises from who? Remember, you talk about July, but before the Prime Minister came there, the President of Cameroon came there through the minister, the ambassador of France in Yaoundé. That's the presidency of Cameroon. He came there and made those promises. Bamenda road will be reconstructed. In fact, I was not even talking about Bamenda, I was talking about the whole region. That promise, is it fulfilled? Can somebody believe in that promise today? So who are we going to hold accountable, the Prime Minister or the Ambassador of France? Again, look at it there. You see that thing there. If you share the pictures, you find people standing in the street with shovels, trying to do some mud. They call it fixing the road. Who believes in 2025, in the year 2025, those potholes can be filled by people with shovels? Can that community, call it the mayor, or the whatever thing is running that down, is it so impossible for them to get even a tractor to level that place? Is it impossible? No, they don't want to do it. They left the hundreds of tractors get rotting in the boulevard, which are given to them free. So do you, who believes honestly that these poor men standing there with their human body can fix that road? Can they do it? To be fair to them, they can stage it and have pictures standing there, but they cannot deal with the problem of those roads in that town. In that town, there are vehicles that are heavy, that are long, that are very, very heavy. What they push with their shovels will be pushed away by a 20-ton vehicle in the next 30 minutes. So it's all a scheme to deceive us. Again, what did the Prime Minister come to do in Bamenda? His visit to Bamenda was significant. Not because he wanted to talk about that road, but because he wanted to give an account of the reconstruction promise in 2019, 5 years ago. The promise of reconstruction. And he came to deliver it. That's what we're saying in Bamenda. At least people standing there. Let them show us pictures of people standing up in the streets, even with their shovels, trying to fix the roads in Kambe, trying to fix the roads in Manfe, in Kumba, trying to fix the roads in Bangam or Libiela in the name of reconstruction. Zero accountability, zero to show. Those are lies. He came there to launch his campaign for the next 7 years of theft, for the next 7 years of crookery, for the next 7 years of extortion from the people. I pity the poor old Prime Minister of his age, who is being led like an animal to the stable to be killed. Can that man promise anything? I've said no. Could their masters before him promise anything? I said no. But again, remember that in that visit of late July, the Prime Minister was accompanied by the whole government. Amongst them, Madame Nalova, the Minister of Secondary Education, who, interestingly, even though there are so many secondary schools in Bamenda and colleges, Yes, she had never stepped foot there, but she cried out, I want the Bamenda, I've never been there, I saw not even a road. This is from a member of the Prime Minister's team. Why did you need to come there? I've said this before. It was meant to stage that they are coming to do something on the eve of a presidential fraudulent election. That is all what it is about. And so, when we analyze Bamenda, when we analyze Kumba or Boya, we miss the point. Because Ambazonia is not Bamenda. Ambazonia is not Kumba, it's not Boya. Ambazonia is so big. It comprises all what you know. Most of us have never been to Bamenda or Boya. Or we come from different communities in Ambazonia. Which communities, like in the last segment, have never seen even an electric pole? Which communities have never seen a pipe-borne water? Talk less of a health center, a functional health center. And so these people are criminals, I'm sorry to say that, because they deceive themselves. Above all, more than they deceive us. Because that's the lie flowing out of the mouth of the guy like that. Everybody whose eyes could say they are lying. Again, can somebody in Bamenda, that's the story of Bamenda, bear those two men there with their shovels, can fix the potholes in Bamenda, worthy of transporting vehicles in that Bamenda town, which is about not less than 1 million people, where heavy trucks pass from there to a cock, from there to Bafusan. Could those people do those things with their hands? Certainly not. And so that is fraudulent machination, fraudulent deceit to get votes from people who are not even supposed to vote, but who will be pretending to vote for a government that has not represented them, a government that has not been held accountable for nothing, from drinking water to electricity, to the streets on which they pass, and above all, even to the security they're supposed to provide for them. Rather than provide them security, the security forces kill them. Rather than provide them security, they catch them and store money from them for not having identity cards that they are not able to provide for them. And so be it. I think it's unfortunate. We've taken this too much for too long. We must fight to get out of it. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. Now let's move into the voice of Ambazonia. Of course, we know the broadcast from the voice of Ambazonia. Today, it reflects on the legacy of John Frundi, once celebrated as a champion of democracy in Cameroun. It recounts how Frundi's 1992 presidential victory was stolen by a fraudulent regime, as later confirmed by insider Albert Zongang. Rather than rejecting the corrupt system, Frundi chose to work within it, ultimately lending credibility to Paul Biya's dictatorship and weakening the fight for genuine change. His political journey, according to Dr. Mungwer, is compared to that of John Ngo, both seen as having betrayed the people of southern Cameroons by trusting in a system designed to suppress them. According to the editorial, he said that with Frundi's death and the recent political events of August 4th, 2025, marked by repression and a staged electoral process, the broadcast declares an end to the illusion of democracy within La République du Cameroun. It emphasizes that Ambazonians will no longer seek reform within a system that has consistently excluded and oppressed them. Instead, under the leadership of President Dr. Samuel Ikomesaku, the people of Ambazonia recommit to their pursuit of full independence, determined to restore their stolen sovereignty and build a free, just, and self-governed nation. Let's get Dr. Mungwer's audio.
This is the voice of Ambazonia. Truth in resistance, clarity in crisis. Fellow Ambazonians, greetings from the voice of Ambazonia. Today, we revisit the story that echoes through the past and into the present. The story of democracy, betrayal, and the irreversible decision we, the people of Ambazonia, must now make. John Frundi, once hailed as the father of multi-party democracy in La République du Cameroun, is no more. His rise in 1990 marked a moment of hope, a rare defiance against the one-party tyranny of Paul Biya's regime. He brought crowds into the streets, gave voice to the silenced, and for a time shook the pillars of power. Even Biya himself admitted that without Frundi, democracy in La République du Cameroun would have been a pipe dream. But dreams, as we now know, can be poisoned. In the 1992 presidential elections, Frundi won, but the regime, already addicted to fraud, stole the people's mandate. This is no longer speculation. On TV Belafon, a Bamileke-owned station, Albert Zongan, once a mastermind of the regime's dirty tricks and now a fugitive of the same system, confessed. He said the fraud was deliberate. He named the players, Achille Achu, Fochive, and himself. They knew Frundi won. They reversed the results anyway. What followed was a tragedy. Frundi, rather than turning his back on the monster that devoured him, tried to work with it. He became part of the political machinery he once opposed. Year after year, decade after decade, he gave Biya's dictatorship a cover, the illusion of democracy. And now, with Frundi gone and buried in a concrete grave, no less, Biya no longer hides. The events of August 4th, 2025 were a naked display of authoritarianism. Maurice Kamto was blocked. The Constitutional Council became a stage for lies. The people were excluded. The media was gagged. The ruling was predetermined. What we witnessed was not justice, it was political theater. But for us, the people of Ambazonia, this is nothing new. Frundi's era was not just political, it was historical. He followed the same misguided path as John Ngute, who in 1961 led our people into a false union with French Cameroun. Frundi tried to save the failed union without ballots. He failed. 2 men, 2 moments in history, and the same result, betrayal and humiliation. After 2 trials, it's no longer a mistake, it is a pattern. We, the people of Ambazonia, have learned. We have seen what happens when we put faith in a system built to exclude us. And now we must act accordingly. President Dr. Samuel Ikomisako of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia has made our position clear. We will not mourn the death of a democracy that never served us. We will not cry for institutions that treated us like strangers in our own land. We will not return to a system designed to deny us our future. We are not fighting for a better place in the prison called La République du Cameroun. We are building our own nation, a free Ambazonia, a just Ambazonia, a sovereign Ambazonia. The Southern Cameroons voted to govern themselves in 1961, but our voices were hijacked. Our lands were annexed, our people have been massacred, and our dignity stolen. But not anymore. As Paul Biya's regime collapses under the weight of his own lies, we, the people of Ambazonia, rise with clarity. We will restore what was stolen. We will rebuild what was destroyed. We will remember what was forgotten. The death of Frundi marks the end of an era of illusions. Let us now begin the era of truth, the era of restoration, resistance, and independence. This has been the voice of Ambazonia. Truth in resistance, clarity in crisis. Until freedom comes, we remain standing.
Barrister Mbeseha, this is Dr. Mungwa saying, I mean, you do not have to support the democracy that is not there. I loved how he carefully coined his words. I'm sure this is the kind of food you would like to be presented to your table. Let me get your thoughts on this.
I think Dr. Mungwa's statement is so interesting, so powerful that it's difficult to add a comment there. But I can just try to add a few things there. You know, he said something that every Ambazonian should remember. We did not choose to, in fact, Cameroon is not, Ambazonia are not going to look for a room in the prison called Ambazonia. You don't go to Kondingi thinking they are going to heaven to choose your own bedroom there in Kondingi prison. That's in summary what it is. La République is a prison. That prison should not concern us. And as I said, the story of Nifrundi is telling. Abel Zonga, who is still alive, who tells this thing publicly, how they stopped Nifrundi from becoming the president. Above all, they did not stop Nifrundi. The state did not say Nifrundi will not go to Etude. The story said Anglophone are Etude German. Anybody who speaks English in Etude, never. And so, now that Nifrundi is dead and gone, has the story changed? We're no longer talking about Frundi. Frundi is gone, but the principle of German and Anglophone and Etude still holds. And that should be a good message for our brothers and sisters who still cajole into this nonsense called Yaoundé. And so, why do we go through this? Dr. Mungo says, this is not the time for us to reform the irreformable. What cannot be reformed by the people who cannot reform them? And in bottom line, and for every Ambazonia to understand, it is practically impossible for any Ambazonian, and in bracket, any minority, to reform the majority. Because the reform of the majority by the minority would spell a dictatorship of the proletariat. You're dictating over the majority. If they want reformation, they will get it. By fighting it themselves. Not by coming to beg your 2 soldiers when they have 1,000, go and kill them in order to reform them. The regime is irreformable, but doesn't mean anything to them. It means nothing because they don't even know that it's wrong. They don't believe that there's anything wrong with their thing. And as I've said, they will have the government they deserve. But the bottom line, as Dr. Mungo has said, Anglophones they call us, Ambazonians have recognized us, and the government of President Sako has said, enough is enough. We're not going to be complicit in all this. At least from 2016 till date, we have stood the ground. And I said earlier that between 1961 and 2016, that was the Cold War. Today is an open war. The battle lines are drawn. Everybody can see for themselves. And if you take it in summary what we have said throughout this segment, is it water we want? Is it electricity we want? Are they good streets we want? Can we get out of Yaoundé? Are the promises made to us, are they anything? Who will belong, those who want to belong to Yaoundé can belong. You will get the decision you want. You will get it the French style. You get it the Yaoundé style, not your own. You will get regions as you want. You are going to get them, or call it federation, the way Yaoundé dictates to you. What they think is good for them, they will give you. And so, we are not part of that charade. We did not opt to go into this type of nonsense. Nobody born free goes to prison willingly. Even if they force you into prison, the best thing for you to do is to look for an escape route and escape. It is legitimate for you to escape from an illegal prison. By all means, if it means breaking the prison walls, you are free to do that and set yourself free. And so that is where it is. Again, in summary, our brothers and sisters, Ambazonians in particular, we're not talking to people. They have what they deserve. But we're talking to our own people, Ambazonians, who consciously or unconsciously, according to Ochiba, have been so tainted with all these things. Ambazonia, the streets we talk about, the water we talk about, everything we talk about, they are not about ministerial offices that are held. Because everybody named the minister. Even from Dion, like the prime minister, where there's no road. You will live in Yaoundé. You will drive the best cars. You'll be given the best security while you travel up. So the freedom of Dion, for example, is not dependent upon whether their son or daughter is a minister in Yaoundé or the prime minister. The freedom of anybody in Ambazonia, in any village, in Kupe Maneguma, in Dion, in Mayo, it's not dependent upon whether they have their sons and daughters in Yaoundé as presidents, vice presidents, ministers, vice ministers, or directors. No director lives in the village. None. They all live in Yaoundé. And so the taking of figureheads at Tanganjis, the Inonis, the most strongest, and taking them to Yaoundé and giving them big offices and calling them Ambazonian is not a solution to our problem. Because even in that cabinet meeting, cabinet call Yaoundé government, you are a minority, you cannot reform the irreformable. It's impossible. And so that's why we fight. I said many times before, we did not try to get independent in 1961 to go and suffer. We did not intend to get independence to have schools without benches, to have hospitals or clinics without dispensers or bandages. And so Dr. Mungo has said it, let them iron out their problem. I bet Jonga karma is coming to haunt them. When they brought down Ledney Frundi, well, he caved in. I became a compliant agent. That's what's happening over there. I guess. I'm just guessing. I don't know what other routes Mr. Kanto has, if he has any. But it looks to me, he has caved in like any other one before them. There are so many. They cave in and go away. I mean, I used to remind them and remind Ambazonia, war is long for Ambazonia. Victory is not a thing of days. The struggle is it's not a thing of months, it's a thing of years. And so, even in Yaoundé there, resistance to oppression is not a thing of going to demonstrate one day in the street, go and bend down one embassy abroad. That is not resistance, it is sporadic reaction. That alone will never bring anything to you. And so back to Ambazonia, it should remind us the killing of Maapi, the burning of our children in fire, the Garbo incident. There are incidences that mark what we fight against. In spite of those incidences, will continue, the life will continue. The dead live with the spirit to help us. And so don't be discouraged that we lost this battle, we lost that one. Losing a battle is not losing the war. We've lost several battles, but the war is ongoing. Let us do ours and let Yaoundé do theirs if they so choose to. Otherwise, they remain what they are forever. That is not for us. Again, participation in the elections I've concluded here is submission, not resistance. We are bound to resist, and we will resist until we get what we want. Over to you.
All right. Ambazonians will resist till they get what they want. In another related audio, the voice of Ambazonia condemns Maurice Kamto for failing to stand firm after being blocked from running in Cameroun's 2025 presidential elections. Once viewed as a promising reformist, Kamto's retreat, marked by the return of campaign donations and a quiet withdrawal from political life, is portrayed as a betrayal of those who believed in him. The statement criticizes his reliance on diplomacy and legal means to challenge a deeply entrenched and authoritarian regime, arguing that such a system can only be confronted through unrelenting resistance, not civility. It also highlights the disappointment of leaders like Sisi Ayuk and Cho Ayaber, who supported Kamto in hopes of political change, only to see their efforts collapse. In contrast, the message praises Ambazonian leaders like Dr. Samuel Ikomesako, who consistently opposed participating in Cameroon's electoral process, calling it a sham that legitimizes oppression. It asserts that the real change cannot come from within a system designed to suppress dissent, and once again placing faith in political figures aligned with their colonial structure. The speech ends by reaffirming Ambazonians' commitment to independence, emphasizing that their struggles is driven by the sacrifices of their people, not by the illusions of change in Yaoundé. Kamto's exit is framed not as a loss, but as a validation of Ambazonians' path towards sovereignty. Let's get the audio.
This is the voice of Ambazonia. Truth in Resistance, Clarity in Crisis. Today is Thursday, August 7th, 2025. Fellow Ambazonians, good morning. Today, we speak to you about a man whose name once stirred hope, Maurice Kamto. He was seen by many as a bold voice. He spoke the language of reform. He challenged Paul Biya's long rule, and he was popular across the country, especially among the youth and the educated. But when the regime shut the door on his candidacy for the 2025 presidential elections, he did not rise to this challenge. He retreated. He offered to return campaign donations and quietly stepped away from the battlefield. That was not leadership. It was capitulation. And perhaps it was always going to end this way, because you cannot take a knife to a gunfight. Kamto hoped to dismantle a 40-year dictatorship with a course in civility. That was a mistake. He believed that diplomacy and legal argument could overcome a system built on fear, fraud, and foreign control. But regimes like Biya's do not respond to civility. They only respond to force, to truth, to bold and unrelenting resistance. Kamto's downfall is not just personal. It has shattered the hopes of those who placed their trust in him. In the months leading to his disqualification, jailed Ambazonian leader Sisiko Ayotabe openly supported Kamto, telling close supporters that they would soon be released, possibly rewarded with ministerial positions once Kamto won. He had put faith in a man playing by rules written in Paris, not Boya. Even Chuayaba, once a strong voice for independence, quietly aligned with Kamto's potential rise. Now, they are left with nothing. Their gamble has failed. But not everyone was fooled. Dr. Samuel Ikomisaku, president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, remained firm. He warned the people again and again, no participation in elections. The game of slavery is over. Cameroon's elections are not a democratic exercise. They are a trap, a stage play carefully written to give the illusion of change while preserving the same old system. Voting under occupation does not liberate, it legitimizes. We do not need reform, we need release. We do not need elections, we need emancipation. And to our Bamileke brothers, we say this with truth and respect. Your people have built strong businesses, thriving cities, and powerful networks. But political transformation cannot come through economic success alone. It takes sacrifice, it takes courage, and it takes a willingness to face down a regime built to crush dissent. Kamto's exit is a moment of reckoning, but for Ambazonia, it is not a setback. It is confirmation. We were right not to trust in false messiahs. We were right to reject their ballots and their constitution. We were right to stand on our own truth. Let the world see that Ambazonia is not moved by every wave of political theory in Yaoundé. We are moved by the memory of our martyrs, by the hopes of our refugees, by the cries of our prisoners, and by the vision of a free, sovereign, and independent Ambazonia. Kamto has bowed out, but we rise. This has been the voice of Ambazonia. Truth in resistance, clarity in crisis.
Kamto has bowed out, but Ambazonians rise. Barrister Mbeseha, Ambazonians rise.
Yes, Kamto has bowed out, but Ambazonians rise. A very good conclusion. But let me go to Kamto's bowing out. Professor Kamto is an intelligent man, a very educated person, legally. He gone through law school, he gone through university campuses. He read everything. He's also a politician, but he's a politician with wonderful foresight, but without strategy. Kamto in spite of his academic qualifications, did not realize that the structures in place could not permit him to win an election. He was never going to win the election. He's not going to win the election today, even if he was wrong. Which is why his policy change through the ballot box was so misguided and had no meaning. There is no way that you change Cameroon through the ballot box. Cameroon was not going to do it. Frundi could not do it. Nobody is going to do it. And so give Cameroon the honor, give him the respect. At least that is one of the few Francophones I've discovered to be honest. He's a very honest man. He's a man of his own means. What is the mark of his honesty? While he ran for elections, people contributed their pennies to support him run the campaign. He's come to the end of the campaign. He's not going to change, is not going to come through the ballot box. He has concluded. Well, sit down. He has returned the campaign monies he got from people. Why isn't he keeping your money when they will not campaign? If the change must come to Cameroon, it will not come through campaign. So they will not need that money. Cameroon will not need it. And so he has given out the money back to the people. That's the best he could do. Let us give him credit for that. Has he come to the end of his political journey? Might be. We don't know whether he has any other strategy. But Kamto, like Ambazonia, was not just a name. Kamto to the Francophones was an ideology. Go vote Kamto, change through Kamto. Is that ideology dead? The ideology of change via Kamto. Is it dead? Because Kamto is the physical human being is no longer there. I doubt. The spirit is there. It's still there. The choir is still to be sung. But they need somebody to take it. At the very least, even they still need to come to. They need strategy to bring down the system. It will cease to be changed through the ballot box. Because the structures are not there to make you win an election. The structures are designed to make you, even at the last minute, to be thrown out. That they did with need from you. They allow you to campaign, pay deposit, count the votes, and you won, they still kick him out. And so, again, we have learned a lot. And based on that knowledge, previous knowledge of what the Plunges did, of what New Front did, of what has happened to Kamto, if you ask Kamto in his honest belief, does he not believe that Ambazonians are right now to fight for what is theirs? Does he not believe that Ambazonians are right, and we're right, not to have attended their so-called Grand National Dialogue? We've since discovered that. And there are many Ambazonian groups, call them whatever thing you call it. There are many. They have speculated for so many things, attended Grand National Dialogue, attended the Geneva, the Swiss, what do you call it, the Canadian talks several times, gone to South Africa, gone to Ghana. But the person who has stood fast and said no to all that sharing is President Sako. We learn from errors. We must learn moving forward. President Sako has been consistent, and rightly so. Because, as I said earlier, no matter what strength you have, no matter you bring in there, Ambazonians will not change the Republic of Cameroon will change Ambazonia. Through assimilation, or give you no other word, give you no other description, they can take away the word assimilation. They will change you. You will not change them. And so, President to be, with the failed attempt, Mr. Kamto, and his following, and his chorus, and his choir, and his doctrine covers, must have realized by now that Ambazonians have all along been right. The success of democracy is not dependent on a few people sitting there and doing it. As we have realized in the world, no democracy has ever been won through dictatorship. All of us clap for Mr. Traore in Burkina Faso. Traore did not come to power through any democratic principles. And all those military leaders have changed the world. And so those who believe that they can change, they are only through democratic principles, they align to themselves. And so let us give kudos to President Sarko for at the very least having the foresight, being able to read far in advance. If someone had told our brothers in Kondigi in 2019 that Kamto will not be president, that they are not going to be released along with Kamto when they are all locked up there, they would have said, no, you're lying to us. Now their eyes are open. They supported Kamto. All of them in jail. They released Kamto and they left them there. They supported Kamto, hoping that he will become the president and make a general amnesty. Kamto has been foiled, has been defeated. They are still there. And so having faith in that tough nonsense is wrong. There are people who believe in Kamto, Ambazonians, I'm talking about Ambazonians. Oh, you come and bring us democracy. You come and bring us a federation. You bring us this left and right. Kamto is no longer there. All the people are seeing the 13 or 14 running for presidential elections. None of them has promised even a so-called federation. So is it worth the trouble trying to bury a dead person? That theory of federation is already dead and buried. It was dead and buried many years ago. We tried to assume it. It has not succeeded. So to all Ambazonians who still thought about success through Kamto, rethink yourself. Come back to the fold. I know that war has victims. Freedom has victims. You might just be a victim, but fight this thing to the end. Just like Ma Indele, just like Vice President Ate. If you die on the road, the truth will be told to generations to come. Don't die a coward. Died an upright person. Died a soldier fighting in spirit and in form. And so that we have come to the end of the journey. They have come to the end of the story of restoration, of a federation, decentralization. We've come to the end of it formally. And so those who believe in it, joining the CDN, going to Canada 1, 2, 3, 4, you've missed your way. But luckily you're still alive. Come back to the fold. Let us fight for this thing. Fight and free ourselves from the common monster. The monster is Yaoundé. Be it under Ahijo, be it under Paul Biya, or anybody who will succeed him. They will do the same thing. You will not change them, they will try to change you. And so that's the message why we fight. Luckily, I think we are winning. Our message is sinking deep into people's minds. Events are proving us right. And so Ambazonians be encouraged. The end of Kamto is the end of democracy as contemplated in La République du Cameroun. It is not the end of the struggle for Ambazonia because it's not a part of us. It should only fuel our mind to fight out and fight until we get what is rightfully ours. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. Before we let you go, we'll take the story. Seems like the abduction and detention of journalists back in town as a student, Gabrielle Souga, a journalist and intern with the Post newspaper, has sparked widespread condemnation and raised concerns about the state of press freedom in President Paul Biya's regime. Souga was apprehended by La République du Cameroun police in Yaoundé while on official assignment to cover the Constitutional Council proceedings at the Yaoundé Conference Center. According to reports, Souga clearly identified herself as a student journalist on official duty, but was forcibly taken into custody alongside dozens of individuals suspected of being protesters supporting opposition leader Maurice Kamto. The Cameroon Association of English-speaking students strongly condemned the abduction, demanding her immediate release. The detention of Souga for over 24 hours was described by the Post as a blatant act of intimidation against members of the press. The newspaper called for her immediate release, and efforts by the Camersage, the Post staff, and Souga's family ultimately led to her freedom. This incident highlights the growing concerns about the crackdown on press freedom In the Cameroun, journalists and media outlets have faced increasing restrictions and intimidation, undermining their ability to report freely and hold those in power accountable, with many like Mancho, BBC, and others still in jail. The incident has sparked outrage among journalists and civil society groups who are calling for greater respect for press freedom and the protection of journalists' rights as the country continues to navigate its complex political landscape. It remains to be seen how the colonial government will respond to these concerns and ensure that journalists can carry out their work without fear of reprisal. Authoritarian regimes like the Paul Biya's regime often view a free press as a threat to their power and control. To maintain their grip on power, they may use various tactics to suppress press freedom, such as censorship, which is controlling what can be published or broadcast, intimidation, threatening or harassing journalists, arrest and detention, detaining journalists for their work, propaganda, promoting state-controlled narratives. These actions can limit the ability of journalists to report critically and hold those in power accountable. Barrister Mbeseha, we gave this report, but we are here to say, oh, she's been released. But that would have been because of the emphasis, because so many persons learned their voice, and it was more like a call to action for the past 24, 48 hours. She was held in captivity, but she's been released, and it's a good thing. What would you say at this point?
Well, if she has been released, if the story is true, if I have any personal advice for her, is for her to escape. Let us seek shelter somewhere else. Because the event that occurred in the so-called Constitutional Council 2 days ago have only helped to empower the administration. Not only to arrest her, but to arrest many more. I think a few minutes ago, I saw a list of not more than 10 abducted in Yaoundé, signed officially by the prefect of Fundi, all reporters, and told to be detained for 15 days, sent to prison for reporting what went on in the so-called Constitutional Council. So if she had already, her arrest at the time was just the tip of the iceberg. More is coming. That's Yaoundé. But they are going to extend it to any other place. If you're in Douala, if you're in Bamenda, and you're a reporter, they will take you down. That is not an environment where free reporting is encouraged. So I know the best of our reporters. Those who are reporting on Cameroun, they are abroad. But they were not born abroad. They all escaped from the system in Yaoundé. And so it is a system that is irreparable. It is, in fact, I don't know. They are murderers. They are criminals. They are people trying to survive, to hide their crimes of yesteryears. And their crimes include, as I've just said, outright killings, for which you will go to prison either or to trial. Some will be sent to life imprisonment. So they are prepared to do anything to preserve themselves. And anything they want to do includes the first target are the reporters, because the reporters, good number of reporters, have this information at their fingertips. Investigative reporters have the information. And the only way to keep it not to come out is to arrest you and possibly kill you. We have known of journalists who were killed, just killed outright, because of the information they possessed. We have known at least Ambazonia was just disappeared. We don't know where he was buried, just because he was reporting something. So it's not a regime that you think that someone will come to salvage you. You have to save your own lives first. Then someone will help you. It's a regime that will not excuse you. And again and again, dictatorship has never been brought down by democratic principles. An eye for an eye, they kill you or kill me. If it is dictatorship, you can only bring it down by doing similar things that they do to you. But since you don't have the weapons to do it, you, the poor journalist, with your pen or with your phone, you are toothless. They will take you down. And in the state of Cameroun, once you escape or they no longer find you, they will take your wife, they will take your children, they will take your mother, they will take your father. So this is one of the most ruthless regimes I've ever found in the world. And so if this girl has been released, I would Please advise her, for now, look for an escape route if you want to be safe. It's a dangerous regime, but if you want to challenge them, do like the Ambazonians have done, knowing that you might be the victim. And then killing one of you will not stop the battle. You kill one, the second will come. Kill 10, 20 will come. Kill 20, 100 will come. Unless you adopt this principle, you're wasting your time. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. We sincerely appreciate your presence every time we call on you, and of course your profound ways you analyze all of this subject matter will bring to the front burner is simply amazing. But it's at this juncture that we'll let you go as we head into the African news across the globe. Thank you so much, Barrister, for being part of tonight's Undaunted.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. And right after the break, we'll head into Ghana, where an investigation into military helicopter crash that killed top government officials have begun. Ghanaian authorities have opened a full investigation into the tragic crash of a military helicopter that resulted in the death of all 8 people on board, including some of the country's most senior officials. The crash marks one of the deadliest incidents involving high-ranking members of government in Ghana's recent history. The helicopter went down on Wednesday under still unclear circumstances, killing all 8 occupants instantly. Among the deceased are Defense Minister Edward Omane Boma and Environment Minister Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, both of whom played key roles in national policy and international representation. Their sudden loss is being described as a major blow to the administration and the country at large. Also among those who perished were Samuel Sapon, the vice chairman of the ruling National Democratic Congress, NDC, and Monuru Mohammed, a senior national security advisor. The remaining 4 victims were members of the helicopter's crew, whose identities have yet to be officially realized and released. In response to the tragedy, the government has declared 3 days of national mourning beginning today, Thursday. During this period, all national flags will be flown at half-mast in honor of the victims. The president of Ghana, in a televised address, called the clash a devastating national tragedy and extended condolences to the families of the deceased, vowing a thorough investigation into what went wrong. Officials from the Ghana Armed Forces and the Military of Transport have already begun coordinating with aviation safety experts to determine the cause of the crash. The aircraft, reportedly a military-grade transport helicopter, was on an official mission, though the specific nature of the assignment has not yet been disclosed. The deaths of Boma and Mohammed, both prominent figures with significant influence in Ghana's defense and environmental policies, have left a leadership vacuum in key government portfolios. Boma, known for his efforts to modernize the Ghana Armed Forces, had been instrumental in regional security cooperation and collaborations. Mohammed was a vocal advocate for environmental protection and climate action in West Africa. The nation is reeling from the sudden loss, with tributes pouring in from political allies, opposition leaders, foreign diplomats, and ordinary citizens. Messages of sympathy and solidarity have also been sent from across the African continent and beyond. As the country mourns, questions linger about the safety protocols surrounding the transport of top officials and the maintenance standards of military aircraft. The government has promised transparency and swift action if any lapses are found. Ghanaians are being encouraged to observe the mourning period respectively and join in honoring the memory of those who lost their lives in service to their nation. Also in neighboring Rwanda has agreed to accept up to 250 migrants from the United States as part of a deal made with former President Donald Trump's administration. According to Rwandan government spokesperson Yolanda Makolo, the deportees will receive workforce training, healthcare, and accommodation to help them restart their lives in Rwanda. A key element of the agreement allows Rwanda to approve each individual proposed for resettlement before they are accepted in the country. While the White House has not directly addressed the agreement, it told the BBC that the U.S. is in ongoing discussion with nations willing to help remove migrants it claims entered the country illegally under former President Joe Biden. The comment suggests a politically charged framing of the deal, emphasizing the Trump's administration stance on immigration and efforts to partner with foreign governments in enforcing deportation policies. When we return from this short break, we'll head into India, where Modi stands firm on farmers' welfare as U.S. imposes steep tariffs on Indian goods. A day after United States President Donald Trump announced a sweeping 50% tariffs on Indian goods, India Prime Minister Narendra Modi vowed to defend the country's agricultural sector, even at significant political cost. The announcement has sharply escalated trade tensions between the two nations, putting a decades-old strategic relationship at risk. Addressing a gathering in New Delhi on Thursday, Modi took a defiant stance, declaring that India would not bow to foreign pressure when it comes to protecting the livelihoods of its farmers, dairy workers, and fishermen. According to Modi, he says, "For us, our farmers' welfare is supreme. India will never compromise on the well-being of its farmers, livestock owners, and fishermen. Our brothers and sisters and I know personally I will have to pay a heavy price for it." Well, the new tariff, which will take effect on August 28th, come as a response to India's continued purchase of oil from Russia, something Washington has repeatedly warned could trigger trade penalties. India already faces a 25% levy on several of its key exports after failing to reach a trade agreement with the U.S. before Trump's first August deadline. The sudden escalation places India alongside Brazil as the countries facing the highest level of U.S. trade penalties under the Trump administration. Negotiations between New Delhi and Washington over bilateral trade agreements have been ongoing for over a year, with 5 rounds of talks yielding little progress. A major point of contention has been the U.S. demand for greater access to India's agriculture and dairy market sector, seen as politically and economically sensitive in India. According to he says, "We've made it clear in every round that our farmers are non-negotiable," a senior Indian trade official told reporters on the background. This is not just about economics, it's about protecting the soul of rural Indians, if you realize. But President Trump, meanwhile, has defended the tariffs hike as necessary to penalize India for what he describes as unfair trade practices and its alignment with adversarial energy partners like Russia. Policy analysts warn that the hardening positions on both sides could derail long-standing cooperation between the world's two largest democracies. "What we are witnessing is a serious test of the resilience of U.S.-India ties," said Rohan Mohatra, a fellow at the Center for Strategic Affairs in Delhi. These tariffs and the rhetoric around them could have far-reaching consequences beyond trade, impacting security cooperation, regional strategy, and technology partnership. With the tariff implementation date drawing near, both nations now face mounting pressure from domestic industries, geopolitical allies, and internal political forces to either de-escalate or prepare for a prolonged standoff. For now, Modi appears determined to stay the course. He says our priority is not to please others at the cost of Indian farmers. He says India will make its own choices. Oh well. The tariff date is coming closer. 28th is not far. Let's see what comes out of all of this move. And this is where we draw the curtains on the news across the globe. But before we go, let's take a look at the major stories. Oh well, tonight on Undaunted, we told you that La République du Cameroun weaponizes war plunges Atlantic zone into strategic darkness. Also tonight, we told you that La République du Cameroun uses war strategy by creating Famine, which is a threat in Ambazonia. Bamenda waits in vain for Intra-Urban road works, a promise made by the Colonial Prime Minister, Dr. Joseph Dion Ngute. Also tonight, we told you that Cameroun has bowed out, while Ambazonia is standing firm, a reckoning for false hope and a call for true liberation. Student journalist Gabrielle Souga, abducted and detained on Monday, August 4th, has been released. Tonight on the African scene, we told you that Ghana launches investigation into military helicopter crash that killed top government officials, while on the foreign scene, Modi stands firm on farmers' welfare as US imposes steep tariffs on Indian goods. That's it for tonight on Undaunted. Bringing to the news untold stories. Special thanks to barrister team Mbeseha and a team of technicians behind tonight's production. From us here is good night and God bless.